From K2 News, this is breaking news.
That breaking news tonight: clashes between federal officers and demonstrators outside of the ICE facility in southwest Portland. The tension ratcheting up as soon as the sun went down. It's a noticeable difference from earlier in the evening. That video on the left side of your screen showing protesters marching from the building to the building right now from southwest Portland and circling the building before leaving. Very different scenario now with that video on your right. Thank you so much for joining us for K2 News at 11. I'm Barry Mangold. We have a lot to get to. Tonight's clash is kicking off less than 24 hours after this announcement from President Trump. He posted to Truth Social saying, quote, "At the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary." And we want to show you where this is all happening in relation to downtown Portland. You can see this is the ICE facility location there off of South McAdam Avenue. The building is south of the city near a Tesla dealership and several other apartment complexes. K2 News has previously reported on a lawsuit filed by one woman claiming the city was not doing enough to stop the noise from the nightly clashes outside the building. Now we want to get to our reporter, K2's Jennifer Singh, who spent hours in front of the ICE building tonight. She witnessed those peaceful protests before things started to change. So Jennifer, city leaders stress peace today and not taking the bait by resorting to violence. Did it work out?
Well, Barry, I guess that's up for you guys to find out with the videos. Now, like you said, tensions did rise throughout the evening. In the early hours, we did see things remain very peaceful, but like you said, it was after the sun went down when things started to get a little bit physical. We saw a few instances of that, and we do know at least one person was taken into custody after a physical confrontation with officers. Now, some people we spoke with this evening tell me that's exactly why they believe federal troops are needed in Portland.
If Portland's not going to protect their citizens, these people are tax-paying citizens, they have their homes here, he's got to do something. I think he just wants to see America safe and following the law, but Portland's politicians don't want to do that.
And other people worry that an increased federal presence will do the opposite of protecting the peace, referencing back to the Portland protests in 2020.
I just remember watching night after night everything that was going on with the interactions between police and protesters, and I'm just worried that we're going to see things blow up like they did in 2020, and it's because our president and the federal government, they're looking for a fight.
Now, again, there are still a lot of questions we need the answers to, such as when the troops would arrive, how many of them, and what they would be tasked to do. We did reach out to the White House today to see if we could get those questions answered. We got a timeline back explaining what has happened outside of the ICE facility dating back to June of this summer. Now, we are still working to get those answers, but we will bring them to you as soon as possible. For now, live in downtown Portland tonight, Jennifer Singh, K2 News. Barry.
Jennifer, thank you for that. And you may have noticed at home watching that Jennifer and our crew was not at the ICE facility. That is because demonstrators threatened their physical safety about 90 minutes ago. Our security team, who's with them now, moved them inside of their vehicle, and protesters were heard discussing our parent company, Sinclair Broadcast Group, and plans to target our crew if they exited the vehicle. The crew was simply trying to report on an important local news story happening in our community, but their safety is our first priority. So we moved them from the ICE facility to avoid further physical threats. And earlier today, Oregon Governor Tina Kotek sending a clear message to the White House following the president's announcement.
President Trump's inconceivable insistence that we need federal troops in Portland does not address the real concerns in our communities. We do not need or want federal troops in Oregon stoking fear, creating conflict, and frankly escalating a situation that is under control.
In general, it could shut this down, which would be great. How we can have our community back, how we can sleep at night.
Kotek also wrote on social media that her office had not been notified why the troops were being deployed. Governor Kotek pushed further for more answers. She spoke with both Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and President Trump after seeing that social media post. Here's what she had to say about her conversation with the president.
He thinks there are elements here that create an insurrection. I told him there is no insurrection here and that we have this under control. I have complete faith in Portland Police and Chief Day to make sure that we're holding people accountable if they cross the line.
The governor says that she will not approve the use of the Oregon National Guard. Portland Mayor Keith Wilson said today that he will also be sending a message to the White House.
On Monday, I will gather with a dozen regional mayors to sign a joint statement modeled after that of Mayor Brandon Johnson of Chicago, who received the same ugly threat of military deployment as Portland now has.
In Chicago's Mayor Johnson said in his statement that the president's approach is uncoordinated, uncalled for, and unsound. Local leaders are urging Portlanders to respond to the federal agents with peace. Governor Kotek said the best way to stand in opposition to the Trump administration is to lean into supporting your community and making things better in Portland. And local leaders are reacting to President Trump sending federal troops to Portland. Former Oregon Congresswoman Lori Chavez-DeRemer posting this on X in part saying, quote, "I've seen firsthand how lawlessness has transformed Portland from a beautiful place to live to a crime-ridden war zone." She went on to thank President Trump for doing something to keep ICE facilities protected and America safe. Chavez-DeRemer is currently the U.S. Labor Secretary for the Trump administration. Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley, meanwhile, also responding. Merkley posted in part on social media that the president wants to stoke fear and chaos and trigger violent interactions and riots to justify expanded authoritarian control. Merkley urges the city to not take the bait and asserts that Portland is peaceful. The senator echoed similar sentiments from last night's news conference with Mayor Keith Wilson, which was put together in response to the president's announcement. And Portland Police Chief Bob Day was also at that press conference today. He says peace has always been his mission in his 3 decades serving the police bureau. He added that the president's announcement does not change that.
Portland Police Bureau continues to adhere to the rule of law. We are not engaged in immigration enforcement. We are not participating or supporting any kind of immigration administrative work.
Chief Day says an alphabet of federal law enforcement are here to provide protection for the ICE building. He does not specify which federal officers are in Portland because he says he is not sure. And earlier tonight, Tung Yin, a law professor at Lewis and Clark, talked with us about the president's authority to send troops to cities like Portland. He said that Trump likely does have authority in certain situations. Take a listen. Does the legal kind of situation change, in your opinion, if these are not National Guard troops, but instead these are agents from various federal agencies?
That is different. Okay, so the reason it matters if it's military troops versus federal law enforcement agents is that there's a law called the Posse Comitatus Act that forbids the military from being used for domestic law enforcement unless Congress authorizes it. So the default is you can't use the military to do ordinary arrests, crime control, and so on. Federal agents could, if they have the appropriate jurisdiction, so sending FBI, DEA, et cetera, into the area to enforce federal law, they can do that.
Right, and I know that Trump posted on social media that his directive, at least in part, was to have these federal troops or agents protect the ICE building, federal property in Portland. If the troops or federal agents are being told to only protect federal property, does that change the legal landscape in terms of challenging the Trump administration's deployments here?
I think it does. If you had it strictly limited to protecting the ICE building, protecting ICE agents as they're entering, exiting, and so on, that's probably within the president's authority to do, especially if he's not using military troops, but using just other federal law enforcement agents, then it does not need the governor's approval in any way. But the minute that you start telling military troops in particular, okay, go arrest that protester, put them in handcuffs, bring them over for federal prosecution, then you're violating the Posse Comitatus Act on top of the other problems of, whether you fulfilled the requirements for calling the troops out in the first place.
And business leaders in Portland are also concerned about the economic impact of federal agents being deployed in Portland. The chair of the Portland Metro Chamber said last night that other cities like Washington, D.C. saw a significant drop when the National Guard was sent there.
When the Trump administration deployed the National Guard in D.C., restaurants and small business retail fell by over 30%. That's not what Portland needs right now. Basically, this is bad for business, and it will set back the progress our city has been making over the last few years.
Lisa Schroeder has owned Mother's Bistro in downtown Portland since it opened more than 25 years ago. Today, she told us that Trump's description of the Rose City has stalled its recovery from the pandemic.
People like Trump keep spreading the bad word about our city and scaring people off. So they just keep adding fuel to a fire that isn't there. I just wish people would be downtown Portland. Stop spreading bad stuff, and there will be people down here. We don't have to worry about riots. We just have to worry about people coming to Portland.
Now, not everyone is unhappy about the federal presence. We got a lot of comments on our social media and K2 pages. One person writing, authorities in Multnomah County and Portland refuse to enforce the law, so someone has to. Messy, but necessary. Another person writing, quote, this is the best news to wake up to. It's a step in the right direction for that once beautiful city. Thank you, President Trump. Another person posting on Facebook saying simply, clean it up. Now, we want to know what you think about all this. Pull out your phone and use its camera to scan the QR code on your screen right now, and you can answer the question, do you think the presence of federal troops will help or hurt Portland? And it looks like 59% so far say it will help Portland, 41% say it will hurt. And you can find this poll on our website as well. That's K2.com. And tonight, the mayor of Seattle, Bruce Harrell, offering his support to the city of Portland in a statement saying, quote, I have spoken to Portland Mayor Keith Wilson and offered my support in Seattle's collective support. Trump's threats against American cities are illegal, authoritarian, and an attempt to silence free speech and intimidate the American people. We stand united.